Have you ever had something so personal, so connected to your life, that losing would feel like losing a piece of your own history? That's how I feel about my garage. Not just any garage. It's a structure that has been standing long before I ever heard the word HOA. To me, it's not just wood, nails, and paint. It's a memory keeper, a silent witness to decades of stories, laughter, repairs, and life moments that money could never replace. And yet, one day, a woman I barely knew decided it wasn't mine at all. Her name? Let's just call her Karen. You know the type. The sharp glare, the sense of entitlement so thick you can feel it before she even opens her mouth. She had recently taken upon herself to become the voice of the HOA, even though I never remembered voting her in. From the very first moment she moved in, Karen treated the neighborhood like her personal kingdom. But nothing prepared me for the day she pointed at my garage and said the unthinkable. "This garage," she announced, loud enough for neighbors to hear, "doesn't belong to you. It's HOA property. We have the right to claim it." I stood there, frozen. My jaw literally dropped. Imagine someone walking into your house, pointing at your living room, and declaring it's because they say so. That's what it felt like. Except this wasn't just a random outburst. Karen actually believed it. At first, I laughed. I thought she was joking, maybe just trying to stir up drama. But the look on her face told me otherwise. She wasn't joking. She was dead serious. That's when I realized I was stepping into a battle I never signed up for. Karen didn't just stop at making her outrageous claim. She went door to door, whispering to neighbors, trying to convince them my garage was built illegally. She waved around HOA documents like they were holy scripture, highlighting rules that had been written long after my garage was even standing. The garage was older than her house, older than the HOA itself, and somehow she wanted to erase all that history. What shocked me most wasn't just Karen's claim. It was the way she tried to rewrite reality. She stood in front of me, confidently saying, "The HOA bylaws state that no detached structures are allowed on HOA land." I snapped back, "Exactly, on HOA land. This garage has been here since before there even was an HOA. You don't get to rewrite history just because it doesn't suit your little handbook." Her smirk? I'll never forget it. She leaned in closer and whispered, "We'll see about that." It wasn't just about a garage anymore. It was about control. It was about power. And Karen loved both more than anything. The days that followed felt like a storm cloud hovering above my home. Every time I looked out the window, I saw her pacing by my property, snapping photos of my garage like she was building a case. Neighbors started asking questions. Some sided with me, remembering how long that garage had been there. Others, intimidated by Karen's loud voice, chose silence. One evening, I sat in that garage, my garage, surrounded by the smell of old wood, the tools my father had left behind, and the faint sound of crickets outside. I thought about the years of memories inside those four walls. Birthdays, family projects, fixing bikes with my kids, even the first time I tried to rebuild an engine. It wasn't just storage. It was a sanctuary. And the thought of losing it to a rule book written decades too late made my blood boil. That's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to let Karen bully me. I wasn't going to let her erase history. And I definitely wasn't going to let her take what wasn't hers. But what I didn't know was just how far she was willing to go. Because the very next week, I got a letter in the mail. Not a friendly letter. Not even a warning. It was an official notice from the HOA claiming that my garage was in violation and that I had 30 days to remove it or face legal action. I felt my hands shake as I read the words. They weren't just trying to claim it anymore. They wanted to destroy it. I sat at my kitchen table, letter in hand, my heart pounding. How could this be happening? How could something that stood for generations suddenly be illegal overnight? The answer was simple. Karen. She had pushed this, fueled it, and convinced the HOA board to back her up. But here's the thing about history. It leaves evidence. Old records, old maps, proof that the garage was there long before her HOA existed. Proof she couldn't erase, no matter how hard she tried. And that's when it hit me. Maybe she underestimated me. Maybe she thought I'd just roll over, give up, and watch my garage be torn down. But she didn't know me. I wasn't going down without a fight. Fire, and that's where I'll pause this first part. Because what comes next, it isn't just about letters and arguments. It's about uncovering truths Karen never wanted revealed, exposing the cracks in her so-called power, and watching the entire neighborhood realize just how dangerous her lies had become. Backhand index pointing, right? If you've ever faced someone who tried to take what's yours, stick with me. The next part of this story will leave you shocked at how far one person will go, and how sweet justice can taste when the truth finally comes out. Have you ever felt that burning fire inside you when someone lies about you? That moment when you know they're wrong, but they keep twisting the story until people actually start to believe them? That's what Karen tried to do with my garage. She wanted the whole neighborhood to see me as a villain, as if I was breaking rules and hiding behind excuses. But here's the truth. When someone pushes you into a corner, you either stay silent or you push back harder. And I wasn't about to stay silent. The first thing I did was dig through old boxes in my attic. Dust flew everywhere as I opened folders my parents had kept for decades. Deeds, property maps, city permits. Some of these papers were so old, they were yellowed at the edges. But there it was, the proof I needed. Documents showing that my garage had been standing for years before the HOA even existed. Holding those papers in my hand felt like holding a weapon of truth. The next HOA meeting was coming up, and I knew Karen would be there, ready to embarrass me in front of everyone. She lived for moments like that. But this time I was ready. When I walked into the meeting, the room was tense. Karen was already sitting at the front, papers stacked neatly beside her, a smug grin on her face. The board members sat quietly, some looking uncomfortable, others curious. Neighbors filled the chairs, whispering among themselves. Karen stood first. This garage, she began, her voice loud and confident, is not only against HOA bylaws, it's an eyesore. It lowers property values, and it must be removed. She looked around the room, making sure every pair of eyes was on her. We cannot allow one person to break the rules while the rest of us follow them. If we don't act, this neighborhood will fall into chaos. Her words were sharp, rehearsed, and dripping with arrogance. For a moment, I could see some neighbors nodding. She was convincing, too convincing. But then it was my turn. I stood slowly, holding a stack of old documents. My voice shook at first, but I took a breath and let the truth give me strength. I understand the importance of rules, I said, my eyes scanning the room. But rules don't erase history. This garage was here long before any of you moved in. It was here before the HOA was even formed. And I can prove it. I laid out the papers on the table for everyone to see. Property records from the city. Permits showing the garage's construction date. Old photos. Even one of my dad standing in front of it decades ago. The room went silent. People leaned forward, whispering again, but this time not in Karen's favor. Karen's smile faded. She snatched up one of the papers, glaring at it as if sheer willpower could make it disappear. These could be faked, she spat. Anyone can print papers. I leaned in, my voice steady now. Then why don't you call the city records office? Because that's where they came from. For the first time, Karen's confidence cracked. The board members started to shuffle, clearly uncomfortable. They had backed Karen without checking the facts. And now, the facts were staring them in the face. One of them finally spoke. If this garage predates the HOA, then it cannot be subject to HOA bylaws. It was like a bomb went off in the room. Neighbors who had stayed quiet before suddenly spoke up. Some defended me, saying they remembered the garage always being there. Others turned on Karen, asking why she pushed so hard without checking the truth first. Karen tried to argue, raising her voice, but the tide had shifted. The louder she got, the more foolish she sounded. And in that moment, I realized something. She didn't care about the rules. She never did. What she wanted was control. She wanted to win, no matter what it cost. But this time, she lost. The board voted to drop all claims against my garage. The letter demanding its removal was officially void. My garage, the place full of my memories, my family's history, my hard work, was safe. Karen stormed out of the room, her heels clicking against the floor, her face red with rage. But the battle was over, and the truth had won. I can't explain the relief I felt that night. Sitting in my garage, looking at the old wood, smelling the familiar scent of oil and dust. It felt different now, stronger, like the garage itself had survived not just time, but an attack on its very existence. And as I sat there, I realized this story wasn't just about me. It was about every person who's ever had something important threatened by someone who thought they could rewrite the rules. So let me ask you this. What would you do if someone tried to take what was yours? Would you stay quiet, or would you fight back with the truth? Backhand index pointing right, because here's a lesson. Bullies only win when we let them. Stand tall, stand firm, and never let anyone erase your story. And if you want more stories like this, real battles, real drama, and the truth that always comes out, make sure you stick around. Because this was just one fight. And trust me, there are more battles coming.